So yeah, this bluff was likely not to succeed. Okay. And that's why, anyway, I said on this spot we should bet much smaller. And it would have worked out better. All right. Smaller or all in, one of the two. LeChip just came here and he liked it. Good. I'm glad you liked it. I put all these videos on YouTube as well if you want to go find the past ones. I don't know if I'm going to put these on YouTube. These may just live on Twitch to make life easy. Muggy says, lost 100 viewers. Lots of people don't come here to learn. All right. Here we are. Tilston raises 20K. 7-4 suited on the button, which seems fine. Ras calls big blind with 8-3 suited. I would be very careful defending versus a 2.5x with 8-3 suited. This is not such a good hand. It's probably not going to realize its equity so well. So I would just fold this, especially against the big chip leader who should be overly aggressive. Flop comes ace, queen, 4. Tilston bets small and wins the pot. Good standard hand. I'm going to take a note on this. You'll have to realize that I'm playing against these players on a regular basis, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to compile all of these little side notes I'm making into reads on these opponents. And whenever I go to play with them, I'm going to get out my little book of reads, do a little bit of research, and have better ideas of things I think players are doing perhaps slightly incorrectly. All right. Blinds are 10K. 10K now. Ras raises to 23K on the button with ace-4 offsuit. Schindler 3 bets all in for huge with ace-9 of diamonds. Wow, big 3 bet. This is good online kid 3 bet all in. It is a big all in. It's a big, big, big all in. But if your opponent's raising too often and then folding to shoves too often, this is going to be a very profitable shove for you, especially on the bubble, especially against a shorter stack. So what you have to do here is you have to, well, I have a program over at Float the Turn, kind of similar to the range analyzer, that can tell you if shoving in this spot is going to give you fold equity against your opponent's perceived range based on how much they fold to your shove. Feel free to go tinker with it if you want. But the gist of it is this is very often going to be a profitable shove, especially when you're not risking going broke. And that is this exact scenario. All right, here Negreanu raises 22K with 6s in the hijack. Smith goes all in. Another pretty big all in with pocket 7s in the big blind, and Negreanu folds. I think this is a good fold. It's a spot where you really don't want to flip unnecessarily, and you are going to be very near flipping. LPM says on both these hands, is it not better to just 3 times the size of their raise? The problem with that is, if you make it 3 times the size of their raise, now they can go all in on you. And now you're having to fold, getting 2-to-1 pot odds. Like right here, if you put in 75K and have to call another 325 to win a total of 800, what's 325 divided by 800? It is 40%. Do we think we're going to win 40% of the time with our ace-9 of diamonds against a shoving range? And I don't know. It's close. What do you do to not have to face that decision? And also, what if you just think your opponent's opening way too often? They're going to fold way too often. Well, now you can just jam and make them fold way too often and print money. Yeah, it's safer, but it makes way less money long run, especially from out of position. What is Negreanu's calling range here? Clearly it doesn't have 6s. Child says it puts them to a decision. I don't like the idea of put them to a decision necessarily, because reasonable people come up with good decisions. It's more of the fact that you know you're going to under-realize your equity from out of position. So to not under-realize your equity and to realize all of your equity and to realize additional fold equity, you shove. You realize more equity by shoving. We don't care about putting them to a decision. We care about making us realize the equity that we deserve out of this pot. I imagine he's always calling with 8s. I think 8s is a pretty easy call. He's probably calling king, queen suited, king, jack suited maybe. Probably ace, jack or better. I don't know. I kind of get the vibe that a lot of the older school players tend to call all ends a hair tighter than they should. So, generic read for you. All right, here we have Schindler raising 25K on the button with 8-5 suited. Notice he's still using 2.5 big blind raises. I think this is just good. Marchese 3-bets big in the small blind, or big blind with kings and gets the fold. I know I mentioned this earlier that you probably want to use a smaller sizing as stacks get shorter, but here these two players are both playing somewhat deep stacked, and Marchese is definitely capable of 3-betting with way more than only nut hands. He 3-bets all the time. So this is fine. You have to realize that you should not be making different size re-raises just because you want to get called or something like that. That's not going to be a good strategy against good players. All right, Negreanu raises to 22K with ace-jack in middle position. Cats shoves for 80K only. Negreanu calls, and Cats is out. So he gets the ace, apparently. All right, 6 players left. How much longer do we have? Not a whole lot. We'll probably wrap it up once we get down to In the Money, and we'll review In the Money on Friday. All right, 660K for first. I mean, here's, you guys can read. 6 players left, so we're on the bubble. Tilston raises 6-5 suited on the button. Negreanu 3-bets to 110K with aces, an ace and an ace. Wow, the two big stacks battling it out. Tilston decides to call because the players are very deep. Notice both these players are 100 big blinds deep, and Negreanu has position on Tilston. This is a great spot for Negreanu before even getting to the hand, not because he has aces, but because he has position on the other big stack. Now, this hand, he does not have position. So if I was to be consulting Negreanu for this, I would definitely tell him to be pretty snug from out of position because you're going to have position on this big stack throughout the rest of this final table, and that is incredibly, incredibly beneficial. So Negreanu should love this. Rigfest is new here. Hello, welcome. Okay, Tilston decides to peel with the 6-5 suited, which I think is fine given they are this deep and he's in position. Abel, just subscribe with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. You know, you all may not know this, but if you have Amazon Prime, which a lot of people do who order a lot from Amazon because you get free shipping, you can also subscribe to someone for free on Twitch. It is part of your membership. So if you are an Amazon Prime member, link your account and, you know, sign up to your favorite streamer, whoever that is. Okay. Well, there we go. Lightroom, just subscribe with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. What do we think of Daniel's 3-bet size? I think it is big, but fine. It should be big when you are deep stacked. Also, if you sign up on Twitch, by the way, you get access to these fun little emote icons. We have a shark, a walrus. A walrus is a bad player. My face, and some cash. So there you go. Play around, have fun, enjoy yourselves. What do we think about the big 3-bet size? I think it's good and normal. When you're playing very deep, you want to price your opponent out. How do you price them out? You make it bigger. Next, what about the call? I think it's probably fine with 6-5 suited. You're very unlikely to be super dominated, and if you get there, you're going to get paid for a lot of the time, and that would be great. So I'm cool with both players' play. I think it's good. Too fit to fold. Welcome. Good job. This Twitch Prime thing. I should just mention this every day. Also, if you do subscribe with Twitch Prime, I think you have to resubscribe every month. And, you know, don't just give it all to me. Give it to other people who you enjoy. Because, you know, lots of people spend lots of time here streaming, and show your support. Okay. Flop comes. King, 10, 6. 1 spade. Negreanu c-bet's tiny, 60K into 240. When you're playing very deep, you can often go slightly bigger. And I think slightly bigger is fine. Mainly just because you don't want to give the person in position such great implied odds with whatever they have. I think you'd rather bet closer to 80 or 100, but even then, I still definitely like a small bet size. Should Tilston call the hand like 10-8 suited? Yeah, probably. What about 9-6 suited? Probably not. You like this call on the flop. King 10 should hit Negreanu's range often. It should, but very important here. Tilston has to call a 1/4 pot bet. He needs to defend with 80% of his range. Right? And if we're even folding a bit too much, let's say he defends with 70% of his range. I'm not going to do this again, but go back through the float the turn range analyzer, put in a reasonable preflop calling range, leave in all the pairs and all the open-ended straight draws, and you're going to see that 6-5 suited is well within that range. So he has to call. He's well priced in. Turns a king of spades, goes check, check. Should Tilston turn this into a bluff? Wow. You know, if I was in Tilston's shoes, I probably would have gone for it. I probably would have bet something like 200 on the turn and then jam the river. Guess I should put this in my notes. This is a spot where you can really, really, really lean on the other big stack. The only time Negreanu's easily check calling here is when he has a king, but he's probably just going to keep betting those a lot of the time, given the draws and worse hands they can call. If he has aces, yeah, he's probably going to call with that. But if he has queens or worse, he's going to be in a miserable spot. Really, jacks and better. Jacks, queens, and aces are all very close to the same. So you probably shouldn't fold any of those. But if Tilston did not have a pair, I would definitely be blasting. With the pair, I get you have some showdown value. So maybe it makes sense to not blast, but this is a close one. If you go back to thinking about his range, though, remember how I just said if he needs to call 80% on the flop. If he's calling 80% on the flop, he certainly has many more way worse hands that he would like to bluff with. So I guess it's fine not to bluff. Although I think I'd probably be bluffing too much in this spot. All right, check, check on the turn. River is a 6. Negreanu decides to value bet. I don't really like this value bet. And the reason I don't like this value bet is because a king never folds. A 6, which is not so likely, but a 6 never folds. And what else? I mean, you're trying to get called by queens and jacks. Maybe you're trying to get called by ace 10 or queen 10 or jack 10. If you're going to bet here, you want to bet on the small side for sure. I do get that Negreanu does have a decent amount of bluffs, like ace queen and ace jack that would like to bet. But even then, I don't even know if you should be betting those because those may still win, or you can easily check call with them. So yeah, I don't really like this bet for Negreanu. I think you either need to bet small or check. And given Tilston's a big stack, I would be way more inclined to check because if you bet and get raised, that's just a miserable spot. Whereas if you check, he's probably going to be pretty unlikely to jam on you. And you just really don't want to get jammed on here. All right. What better hands is Negreanu folding to a turn bet? Dazine, I'm trying to get Negreanu not to fold necessarily on just the turn, but on the turn and the river. If I bet king 6 on the turn, I'm sorry, if I bet 6-5 on the turn, I am definitely going all in on the river. It's important to realize that you can have relatively little fold equity on one street of a bluff if you know you're going to have a lot of fold equity on the next street. A very common line that you'll see in high stakes games is bet small on the flop, small on the turn, and then very big on the river. Or very small on the flop, and then very big on the turn, right? By having one giant bet size at some point in the hand, or more sometimes, that's going to get your opponent off of a large chunk of their range, even if the first bet's not going to get them off of very many hands. So I definitely agree that the turn bet is not going to be incredibly profitable on its own because no better hands are folding, like you say. But on the river, I think a lot of those better hands will fold. But if you just bet the river, let's say it goes check, check on the turn, and then you bet the river, none of those better hands are folding, right? Why don't you think Negreanu should bet the turn? Because he doesn't want to go broke against a king, and he wants to induce bluffs. Notice the turn brought the second king. The king is well within Tilston's range, and Tilston should also just call with it every time on the flop, so I would definitely check the turn to not go broke. Remember, we're on the bubble of a big tournament. Negreanu's main concern here is how do I not go broke on this hand? And the answer is to check a street. So when he checks a street, if his goal is to not go broke, how do I make him risk going broke? Well, we blast him. U.S.Poker Pro, welcome. All right, here we have some more hands. Negreanu raises to 22K on the button with Queen 8. Rast calls small blind with King Jack. This could be close to an all-in right here. Flop comes Jack, 9, 4. Rast leads, kind of big, with top pair, and Negreanu just folds. This is so weird. Maybe he realizes maybe he's leading because of the range advantage, which I definitely think is possible. Notice here that when Rast calls small blind, he should have a lot of decent big cards. Therefore, if he has a range advantage, he just wants to bet with his best hand. So I get that. Let's see. Let's go back to this previous hand. You all want to talk about it. Dexall wants to talk about a hypothetical spot where what if Tilson defended the blind? Should Negreanu then check back the king on the turn? Yeah, probably. I realize the pot would be smaller then, so maybe not. If the pot was equally big, he should definitely check behind on the turn. Are we not worried about the spade on the turn in this hand? No, we're not worried about the spade because your opponent has to have exactly backdoor spades. It is hard to have backdoor spades. It's just not a likely holding, right? So don't worry about that. In tournaments, this is such an important concept that almost no one gets. Your goal is not to maximize value. Your goal is to not go broke when you are a medium or a large stack. That is the main overriding factor in lots and lots and lots of your decisions. If you are constantly thinking about that, that's going to work out way better for you in the long run. Welcome, Vocal Terror. How you doing? Good evening? Well, it's good morning where you are. Good afternoon. Unfortunately, we're almost done here because they're about to be in the money. All right, one more hand. Negreanu raises 22K with aces. Rast goes all in for that big 3-bet all in and is out on the bubble down to 5. So this was a fun little set of hands. Definitely go back and watch it on the video. If you have not, you can sign up using Twitch Prime. It's completely free if you have Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, it probably means you're going to the store a lot. I haven't gone to the store in a very long time because we use Amazon Prime. It's very nice. They just deliver everything to your door. But yeah, so thanks very much for being here. I appreciate it. Next time I'm going to stream, as far as I know, is going to be Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Same time. And we're going to go through the final 5 players of this. I have a lot of these things loaded up. It takes a lot longer to go through it here on Twitch than it does normally. But hey, we'll do it. I'm happy to do it. So, good. These videos are on YouTube or Twitch if you want them. Actually, I don't know if this one's going to be on YouTube. I may just not put it on there. But yeah, that's going to be it. Good luck in your games. Thank you all for being here. Sorry if you just joined. Friday at 2 p.m. Then I also have one scheduled for, I think, Thursday next week at 2 p.m. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, tell your friends. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Be good to each other. And I'll talk to you next time.